ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. So, I've been playing Mechwarrior 5 Mercenaries for at least the past month now, regularly on my usual Sunday evening, well, Sunday overnight streams to be more precise, twitch.tv/07716, in case you're wondering. And while I haven't completed the game far enough for my satisfaction in order to do a full official review of the game itself, I do have some thoughts, hence this video right here. So, a little background. This game came out originally in 2019 on the exclusively on the Epic Games Store, made by Pirhana Games, a Canadian developer who currently has the rights to the Mechwarrior license. It was then released later on Steam, as well as various console releases, Xbox and the like, earlier this May in 2021. So now that it's finally out of the Epic Early Access program, as I like to call it, I had a chance to try it, and while I do really like this game, it's got some issues, and that's what I want to discuss while I'm playing here. So, currently doing a little bit of career mode. I imported my current campaign save into it, just to give myself a little heads up, and downloaded a couple of mods, which I'll explain why in a minute. First off, I'd just like to give an example here. One of the things you can do here is walk around inside your ship, take a look at all your mechs that you currently have in your hangar. This is a good thing. It lets you really get up close and really see just how huge these war machines actually are. That is a nice addition. And that's all it's really good for. The NPCs you'll encounter in this particular area, complete non-entities. This guy, can't do anything with them. If we go upstairs to visit our ops division, again, also nobody really worth talking to. There are only really two NPCs that you can actually speak to. That's Rihanna, your ops over here, and Farhad, your engineer. And really, there's not much to them. They don't even really move when you speak to them. They basically stand stock still and talk to you. The only other NPC you really communicate on a regular basis is Adam Jensen's hologram popping up here every now and then. Yes, it is Elias 2FX. Can never pronounce his last name, sorry. So basically the presentation for the story itself leaves to be desired, and that is something I can say about a lot of the elements of this game. There is a lot that leaves to be desired in spite of the fact that there's a lot to enjoy as well. I like, for instance, the fact that you can see your layouts loadouts for each of the mechs you have in your four main bays here. Like I got my Rifleman here, my Orion, my Battlemaster, and here my Warhammer. All of them with their proper paint job that I gave them. If we look here into the Battlemechs specifically, your active hangar, these four ones here are the ones that show up there. So if I, for instance, move my Hunchy right there, and now all of a sudden, which one is it? Yeah, there's the Hunchback. And Hunchy is now right over here where he belongs. God, I love this thing. This one's the Hero Hunchy that I managed to pick up. It's got a Gauss rifle right there. That was my first introduction to those weapons, and goddamn turns this thing into a regular little sniper mech. Of course, now I've got the Hero Rifleman with twin Gauss rifles, and that thing is just goddamn ridiculous in terms of the damage it does. So one of the mods I installed is something that gives you a little bit more extra information. As you can see here, this one has an XL engine and endosteel structure, which basically explains why it has certain bonuses. For instance, the Hunchback also has double heat sinks integrated into its chassis, which means it cools down a lot easier. So there's a little, extra info, which I find useful. So, in terms of what you do during the game, most of these missions that you'll see here in these conflict zones are procedurally generated. All of these ones, the white ones here, procedural generated, procedural generated. This one, less so. This is one of the yellow high value targets that I'm currently sitting pretty on, which is what I'm going to be jumping in on. Now, contracts. So most of these are in their own way also largely procedurally generated. There's extra dialogue and extra NPC interactions in certain ways, but for the most part they do resemble the regular missions quite a bit. And that is a bit of a problem because you're going to be doing a lot of them, especially during the story campaign, since you can't actually move on to the story until you reach a certain reputation level, and you gain reputation by completing missions, negotiating yourself some extra sea builds here, and let's get some extra salvage shares. Alright, that works.
Heavy weather warning is in effect, Commander. Your visibility will be compromised out there.
Duly noted. Now, I've got my nice little current usual lance here with all the pilots I want to bring in. Now, you'll probably notice deployed tonnage is in the red because if we looked at this, well, can't look at it right now, but if you looked at the recommended tonnage for that mission, it is definitely lower than this. One of the mods I installed was no tonnage limits, and there's a reason for that. It is incredibly fiddly trying to get the exact amount of tonnage, maximum amount of tonnage you can want to go down on a mission, because you can't go over it at all. It will not let you. Now, I hate to compare this game to previous ones in the series, but I am, because, well, one, that's the kind of guy I am, and two, if you're going to create a new installment in a long-standing series, even if the last one, proper one of it, was almost 20 years ago, you gotta expect an asshole like me to start comparing you to it. In this case, Mechwarrior's 4 Mercenaries, which did things very differently. Instead of having a locked maximum tonnage, you had sea-build drop costs. The amount of fuel you basically required in order to drop your mercs varied depending on the weight that you were transporting. In other words, the heavier the mechs, the more it costs you. If you bring in too heavy, especially on lower tier missions, sure, you'd blaze through the opposition, but you'd end up paying more in fuel than you get back from the mission. So there was a trade-off to that. So in my case, I added a mod that removes that. However, if I had any input into what the next kind of patch is going to be, it'd be to have this be affected by those same negotiation points that you can use to increase your rate of payment, the salvage shares. Currently, you can also get airstrikes, thanks to the DLC, the Heroes of the Inner Sphere DLC, which adds that, as well as increased, damage protection insurance in case you take too much damage and need somebody to help pay for it. That would really help, because that way you would be saying, okay, I've done a lot of missions for you, my reputation with you is really good, how about you throw in a little bit more to take care of my fuel costs? That kind of thing. Or have it so that if you go overweight on a less difficult mission, have your reputation gain go down. I mean, let's face it, you're not going to gain too much reputation if you just slaughter the opposition without, any kind of difficulty. That's, what I would do like that. Now, obviously, there is the ability to use mods, but unfortunately, mods come with a couple of problems. One, they're not always intercompatible with each other, which is, natural since they're not being made by the same developer. Two, anytime the game gets updated. Now, this is one thing I do like. The presentation in this game, excellent. Because, listen to this.
Online. Sensors online. Weapons online. All systems nominal.
Mwah, that is beautiful right there.
Fireworks. And what better target than a food processing plant on this planet? But be warned, the security forces of Earthworks WL are on high alert, anticipating another attack.
Yeah, so there's my dropship over there. Now, like I said, the presentation is great. I love the look of the game. I love the look of the mechs themselves. If we look over here at my Battlemaster, I like the way the paint is all weathered. These are supposed to be really old machines. Like, some of these machines are centuries old, constantly passed down from one pilot to another, due to the fact that the Inner Sphere has suffered a massive technological downgrade after several centuries worth of total war on the scale like World War I, World War II, except interstellar. So, whole planets glassed, industrial bases destroyed. Like, people just cannot build the same shit anymore. So yeah, presentation-wise, it's great. You can do this and just torch. The destruction in this game is pretty cool. You can torch trees. I switch to drone cam here. Watch my rifleman start stepping on everything. Crush its way through everything. And the same applies to, as we'll see in this demolition mission, all the buildings that we're going to encounter. And it's a good thing this is a demolition mission, because that's something that the AI is particularly good at. Which brings us to the other problem that this game has that... Oop, here we go. Let's take care of the... Oh, thank you very much. Brings us to the other problem this game has. And that's the AI. Ooh, hello. We got some... Centurion. Ooh, let's bring in the Gauss. Yes, it is. So, as I was trying to get before I was so rudely interrupted, the AI is not ideal. One of the mods I've had installed is Tabletop Rules AI, which you can get on the Nexus. I don't recommend getting it on Steam, the Steam Workshop, because unfortunately for some reason that caused some issues. I think that version. Boom. And it is doing some significant improvements to the AI of this game, especially the friendly AI, which has been improved somewhat since the initial Epic Game Store release. Let's just make sure we don't get blasted too heavily here. Let's destroy that. As you can see, buildings just collapse. It is wonderful. Walls just take scars. But yes, as I was saying, the AI is not perfect. It deals really well with lower tier missions. Frankly, I've had no problem dealing with that. Boom. Target destroyed. However, for higher tier missions, I found the costs of repairs involved for dealing with things incredibly high due to the fact that they're constantly losing bits, constantly getting themselves into situations where they cannot fight back and just get wrecked on a regular basis. That combined with the tonnage limits is a serious problem because... Whoa, hey, Warhammer coming up here. That's good. Is that simply you end up being undergunned on a regular basis, taking on your taking on multiple enemy lances and hordes of vehicles on these missions, especially the high value ones, which are typically much more difficult than the regular missions, even for their own difficulty level. And as a result, the game just becomes frustrating as you're constantly having to spend more on repairs than you ever would on salvage. Boom. There we go. Like right now, I'm doing okay. I was taking some, damage to the armor in my center here, which is not good. Also due to the fact that this game, the mod also affects the AI for the enemies, which makes them a little bit more intelligent. Although not vulnerably so. But yes, as I was saying. Indeed. This is especially evident in demolition motions. At first you notice that it's pretty okay. However, the AI does have a tendency to accidentally blast their way through things that they really shouldn't. And as such can cause some serious problems for you, especially if there's an enemy AI that actually manages to make its way into the area you're defending. Alright, so everything's demolished. Let's head to the pickup zone, which is over here. Now, having AI that's not exactly genius level is fine in many ways. I mean, Mechwarrior 4's AI wasn't exactly, you know, absolutely perfect either. However, in that case, you had a lot more options in how you could direct them. Like, here for... Ooh, got incoming VTOLs. Okay, let's get out of here. Well, you know what? Actually, yeah, let's take these guys out. These guys can handle themselves. Yeah, they're still in very good shape. Turret. So as I was saying, you didn't have to worry too much about the AI in Mechwarrior 4 because you could direct them and handhold them if you needed to. And you could give them far more different... Ooh, headshot. Different tricks and trade to help you out. So for instance, here I have basically 4 different commands I can give them. So if I do command all, attack my target, form on me, go to location, and toggle hold fire weapons free. And then cancel back if I want to. So Ryan's seriously damaged. Oh, nice. This Gauss rifle does incredible amounts of damage. Low ammunition, only got 16 rounds currently left, but you get the idea. Oh, and we got another enemy dropship coming in. Alright, let's skedaddle. So that's for Mechwarrior 5. And I can't help but think that, yeah, the fact that this is also a game that's on consoles had something to do with it, because it turns out, in order to use the on console, you use the D-pad. Unlike in Mechwarrior 4 Mercenaries, where you ended with almost a dozen different commands that you could give the AI to direct them as you saw fit, including patrolling areas, defending your targeted area, all sorts of stuff. Okay, we should probably get going before they decide to show up. There we go. So, combining the low tonnage on average for missions with the artificial intelligence being less than adequate for a lot of tasks, and you end up with a bit of a problem because, simply put, the missions become significantly harder as time goes on, and not in a fun way. Mostly due to the fact that the default AI is also not exactly very smart. They mostly just come after you with sheer firepower and numbers in the case of vehicles. Let's grab ourselves a bunch of this stuff from salvage. Ooh. Burst fire, nice. Grab the laser. Let's just grab a whole bunch of that. Oh, actually, instead, let's see. Got this other laser here. And yeah, I think that should do the trick. Just gonna grab myself large laser while we're at it. Okay. So yeah, these guys barely took any damage here. That is the difference in AI. If I had not modded the game with the Tabletop Worlds AI system, these guys would probably have lost. This Warhammer would have lost a couple of limbs at least. This Orion would be significantly more damaged. As it is, they don't just rush into the combat area and just start brawling regardless of their loadout. They'll actually start using longer range weapons and actually start, fighting a little bit more intelligently. I also get the feeling they don't actually start shooting each other in the back with friendly fire, which, yeah, I think has been a serious problem, because that would explain so much about why they end up losing so many limbs. They just keep losing bits and pieces that I then have to pay for. Now, there are mods also for reducing the cost of those kinds of things, but final raid will seal the deal. Okay, good. And that'll give me a nice quick draw here. A very nice quick draw, actually. Good medium lasers, SRM, LRM. That's short range and long range missiles, for those who don't know. So, yeah. Recent military. I work for Quick Selling, but rendered my resignation when the situation resolved because I learned that my company, continue under the guise of considered citizen of free land, hired to destabilize this region. This whole affair arose due to Quick Sell's profits plummeting. Oh, okay. Break the terms of your existing destabilization contract with Anonymous. So yeah, I can either continue going this, hopefully get this, or do this mission. So that's something that is very cool about these high-value operations. You get these kinds of things where you have little story branches or more handcrafted areas, and that is where the game excels. Some of the best missions that I've encountered thus far have been the handcrafted stuff. The problem with the procedural stuff is that for all the great presentation of it, the fact that, you know, the buildings destroy so nicely and satisfyingly, the look of the biomes they have. If there's, for instance, let's accept this one. I wanted to. Let's do that, and that'll take us. Oh, okay. We're actually doing a mission in an industrial hub. Nice. So travel over here. So yeah, in spite of the fact that it all looks great, the presentation is decades ahead of where Mechwarrior 4 Mercenaries was for obvious reasons. That game came out in 2002. But unfortunately, because of the... Ooh, catapult for sale. Nice. Okay, how much is this thing? Sometimes you can find these rare mechs. There's an atlas for sale. Oh. Okay, this is... Yeah, this is beautiful. Okay, that's gonna cost me so much money, though. Okay. I kind of want to buy this atlas. Or I can buy a catapult. No, we're buying an atlas. Oh, there's another thing that you can't do. I need to clear out one of these from there in order to be able to do that. So, okay, let's move... Screw it. Let's move this stalker. Nah, actually, let's move the champion. Say small. Yeah, it's one of the lighter of the heavy mechs I've got. Yeah, actually, you know what? Let's move the stalker. Yeah. Putting the mechs into cold storage strips them of all their weapons and upgrades. Now, the one thing that's really annoying about that, having the weapons storaged out is not really a problem. The upgrades you put in there from the Cantina missions, because if you look here, there are, since I put in the career mode, it wipes these, you have to start all over, but there are various upgrades you can earn by doing these special career missions. And these get stripped out too, which is really annoying because you'd think these are specific to the chassis that you've just upgraded. But no, these also get removed, and these cost money and time to install, which can come to quite a bit. So that's something that's annoying. So like I said, one step forward, or even I would even be generous enough to say 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Because like I said, I enjoy this game quite a bit. The gameplay itself is really, really good. I enjoy the basic, you know, gameplay loop, but there are little niggles and things I have to say just do not, that really need to be adjusted, simply put, because let's put medium laser on this. There we go. And another single heatsink. Like, there's some people who have complained over the fact that the mech lab here doesn't let you change out engines and stuff like that, and that doesn't really bother me that much, because, you know, you need like a full outfitting station with, you know, some serious equipment and stuff in order to do that, like change out the entire endoskeleton of the mech or stuff like that. Let's repair everything. There we go. Start work. That'll take 36 days and cost this much. And naturally, if you do this in a conflict zone, it's going to cost you a little more, even more. Okay, let's repair these. All right. So we're in here. So what we can do this raid here, and then I'll finish up. So like I said, I do like this game quite a bit, but I keep doing that. I think I like it mostly because the foundations of an excellent game are here. And that's the problem. It's just the foundations. There's enough in this game, I would say, to say that it's good. But it's in a series that's been characterized by great games. Mechwarrior, the ones that I've played personally, Mechwarrior 3 and Mechwarrior 4 Vengeance, Black Knight, and Mechwarrior 4 Mercenaries, of course, were all great games. And as much as I want to, and I really, really want to, I cannot say this is a great game. At best, it is good. You know, 4 out of 5 instead of 5 out of 5. That's already well worth picking up, especially since even with the DLC, this game comes down to less than, you know, your average AAA release. So let's do this a little bit. I need some more C-bills here. Yeah, let's stick it all into C-bills. I need to build up some cash here, or otherwise I'm going to go bankrupt. It's delayed, of course. But we are bringing the Atlas. Yeah. Let's see, who's got the best ballistics? So let's give Captain Wells here the Rifleman. Do not make me regret this. I do not want. So as you can see, 320 tonnage. This should be interesting. Wait till everything's refitted. Alright, I can bring an Atlas out. Classic mech. 100 tons of pure destruction.
We need to take out the key buildings.
Oh, that is beautiful.
Corporation campus. As mercs, we aren't supposed to take things so personally, but I can't help but feel scorned by Quickcell's duplicity. Either way, this is a great opportunity to do a little good here.
Excellent, and hopefully get something cool out of it. So, destroy targets all locations, and give them a taste of what an Atlas is like. Also, actually, first things first, let's check the weapon groups on this thing. Okay, medium lasers, AC-20, SRM-6, LRM-20. Perfect. It's always a good idea to know which buttons are actually going to destroy what.
Getting into formation, Commander.
So, I want to take this baby out for a ride before I leave.
Just walk up to it in order to pick it up.
This is something that they added with the DLC. You can actually find... Ah, here it is. Battlefield salvage. Just to give an idea, this is the level of destruction that you can unleash. Oh, okay, so good. Boom. Oh, that is glorious. Like with heavier mechs, you can just walk right through buildings like this. And that is basically the fun part of this game, is just the sheer amount of mass destruction that you're able to unleash.
Tango smoked.
So yeah, that's Mechwarrior 5 for the what? At least for the time being. One of the things that's true about this game is that... Oh, stepped on him. Is that this game is essentially a work in progress, even after all this time. There's definitely more DLC that's going to be released as time goes on. And I can expect it to definitely fix certain problems, but I don't expect it to fix all of them. And like I said, things like mods are a band-aid. They can't fix things from... They can't really fix things all the way down to the main part of the game, simply due to the fact that it's not part of the game itself. It's something that's being added on, and unfortunately, that is going to be subject to breaking due to... There we go. Breaking due to new updates or any other things like that. And not to mention that, frankly, you shouldn't have to mod a game to make it finished. I know, you know, things like Bethesda's gotten us used to that, but simply put, that is something that needs to be fixed up. So, in any case, those have been my rambling thoughts on Mechwarrior 5 Mercenaries. Don't get me wrong, I'm still going to be playing this game. I intend to finish the campaign mode just as soon as I can. And that'll be on Sundays. But I can understand if a lot of people are going to have issues. And I can't blame them. But as I step onto this tank... Get back here, you. I said, as I step on this tank, like the giant stompy robot that I am. Oh, screw it. Boom. I have to say, I do enjoy this game. And while I understand why some people would be disappointed by certain aspects of it, and I do recommend modding the game, at least especially the AI. There we go. Oh shit, I need to be more careful. I'm taking a lot of damage to that arm. Oh, he took out one of my arms. Nasty. See, even with the upgrades, mods and such, you can still take a lot of damage. So yeah, I highly recommend looking into the different mods that are available for the game, specifically the ones for the AI, because that is very much the Achilles heel of the game once you get to a certain difficulty level. Having extra missions brought in, there's a mod called Coyote's Mission Pack or something like that. I haven't been able to get that one to work for my system, but you may have better luck. There's also some cool stuff, and there's always new weapons and stuff, but the artificial intelligence of your lance mates is very much something that bothers me more and more as the game becomes more and more challenging. So that is something that if you are going to get this game on PC, get that mod. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So that's TTRules_AI. You should be able to find it without any problem. In fact, I'll put the link in the description below so you'll be able to just click over and play that. Now, I can really understand if you also would rather just wait for either a sale or just wait to see if any updates come along that will actually change up and remove some of the problems that I'm currently describing. Now, they won't get rid of everything. Most of the game is going to be that constant grind of doing these procedural missions in order to build up your reputation, in order to unlock the next either campaign or high-value side quest. Those, that is simply the basic game loop that you're going to be interacting with for Mechwarrior 5 Mercenaries. However, if that doesn't bother you, like in my case, it doesn't necessarily bother me very much, I'd say this game is still worthwhile. It's currently going for, let's see here, currently going for $33.99 on Steam, Canadian money, of course. And the Heroes of the Inner Sphere DLC, which I also recommend if you're going to get this. It adds already enough to the game to make it worthwhile, is $22.79. That still comes down to less than your average AAA release, especially one of the big boys. Like if you're looking at COD or Battlefield or something like that, it's going to cost you way more than that combined. So frankly, it's a steal. Not to mention you got bundles that can help you take a little bit extra off the top there if you want to. So it really all depends on how much you're willing to go into this and whether or not you're prepared to do a little bit of tweaking in order to bring the game up to how way you want it. And if I were to make a comparison, I'd say this is like the Skyrim of Mechwarrior. It's not as deep as previous games in the series. It's not, Daggerfall or anything like that. But there is a good basis that can be built up to from there. It may not be the one that people are ultimately super passionate about, but it is one that I think might bring more people into the actual series. This is along with Mechwarrior Online for those who are more interested in multiplayer stuff. I'm not, so this is pretty much my go-to in this case. Now, there's always the older ones, but those require either finding them, since they're largely no longer being sold, and trying to get them to run modern systems, which is possible, but finicky. Especially trying to get them with modern hardware. I had to use a mouse key modifier software in order to get the extra buttons on this thing to actually register and actually be used for weapons. So I recommend the game with some caveats, is I guess the best I can say. I think it's good. But as I said previously, it's in a series of greats, and that does reflect poorly on it when it's taken into the larger context. On its own, it'd be a really good game. But there is that history that goes into it. So, yeah. So these have been my rambling thoughts on Mechwarrior 5 Mercenaries. I hope they've been at least somewhat informative. I might eventually do a full review of the game, a full official one, but that'll be a long time after I've done way more, finished off the single-player campaign and done a whole bunch more of the career mode. Not to mention they're going to be releasing more DLC down the line, so I kind of might want to wait until we get a complete, finalized version of the game before I start going into that. But until then, I'll have more stuff down the pipeline for you guys to watch later on. You can find me on Patreon at 0sum716 if you want to see these videos a little bit earlier than everybody else. And get your name in the credits, of course. I am nothing but obliging in that regard. And so, until next time, see ya.